Alright, so in today's video we're going to be discussing how 2 vs 8 has finally achieved the Mario Party style of balance that behavior claims that they want their game to have. In a typical 4 vs 1 game of Dead by Daylight as the years have passed, the sheer number of unfun perks and mechanics that have released render the game a war of attrition of perks rather than either fun or mechanical skill. Matches on Survivor often feel like a miserable slog even if you 4-man out, and matches on Killer often feel miserable even if you definitively 4-man sacrifice, as the process to get there was painstakingly miserable. You already know what you're going to get when you play 4 vs 1. On Killer, you're going to be going against a multitude of perks that reward the survivors for failure states, and on Survivor, you're going to be going against 4 gen perks and a playstyle revolving around sitting around the first hooked survivor and quick subsequent rehooks of the first survivor hooked until they are removed from the game to counteract it. But in 2v8, that mostly goes out the window. The game's mechanics have been reworked in a way that, while they are significantly simplified, also feel refreshing. When you hook a survivor in 2 vs 8, they are relatively randomly hooked somewhere generally in the opposite corner that you pick them up in. And even if you do find where their cage is, it will move to the other side of the map if you linger around too long. Now in 4 vs 1, the idea of that happening would be absolutely absurd, as you'd have a survivor travel across the entire map and you have no leverage whatsoever, because you would not only not know where your leverage just vanished to, but you would also oftenly have no obvious visual target to go after next, as you would have to wander around the map, often aimlessly, provided the survivors are immersing, which is quite common in modern Dead by Daylight, in order to find the next survivor to chase. But in 2 vs 8, you will almost always send the picked up survivor to a cage and be able to find another chase within seconds, keeping you continually engaged with something proactive to do and reducing your downtime in a match. As a survivor, that generally is better because it's fairly rare you'll have a killer focusing exclusively on you the entire match, as if they did, you generally have anywhere from 3 to 6 of your survivor allies generally pressuring other gens, as the killers keep their focus dedicated to the removal of that one survivor, which would heavily punish the killers. So hot potatoing between survivors means almost everybody involved gets the opportunity to not only get chased, but also to engage in other aspects of the match, like getting objective and altruism points. As I previously mentioned, perks are often the deciding factor in how a match plays out in a 4 vs 1, but in 2v8, perks have been replaced by the class system. One of 4 classes to choose from. At least at the making of this video, the abilities you gain with each of these classes feel more conducive to a party-like atmosphere when it comes to the balance. On the survivor side, you have the medic class, which allows you to heal survivors significantly faster yourself, as you get botany built into the class, as well as the survivors within your radius also receiving a speed boost to their healing speed with built-in leader around your radius. You can also see the auras of your injured allies around you, which is packed in empathy. Then you have the guide class, which allows you to reveal your own aura to other survivors of the generator that you are on, a built-in better together. You can see the auras of generators around you, which is the effect of the perk Visionary, as well as survivors on the gen with you getting slightly more progress on the gen for nailing great skill checks. You then have the Scout class, which reveals the killer's aura when they break a pallet, a wall, or a generator, built-in alert. You can see their aura when in direct line of sight, sort of similar to the original Object of Obsession perk, and you make no noise while injured, so you also have Iron Will built in. You crouch with the speed of Urban Evasion, and then you have the Escapist class with a built-in sprint burst that you also share with anybody who passes within range of you. You get windows of opportunity built in, so you can see the auras of windows and pallets, and a built-in fixated as you walk faster while injured. Each class has abilities specifically tailored around the theming of their class, meaning that in a lot of ways you typically know what to expect, and as a result, the game is more casual and enjoyable for both sides. I don't really think that the killer classes are necessarily worth mentioning, as they aren't really as much of a factor in a 2v8 match as the extra abilities and buffs that the killers receive at base are, such as Wesker now receiving 3 dashes, Trapper having more traps and being able to set them faster, Huntress being able to reload faster, among other things, and killers in general having good add-ons part of their base kit in this mode, all things to keep the downtime for both sides at an absolute minimum. Now, I would say in general, Survivor in this mode is typically the easier role, as while the killer's objectives have doubled from 4 to 8 survivors, Survivor's objectives have only gone from 5 to 8 generators. Last time I did an 8-man team-up, we had a 13-game 8-man escape streak, and we had a Huntress and Trapper give up and swing at each other in the corner.
In the corner at Shack. Wait, don't finish the gen. No. Hitting each other in the corner.
Are they actually?
Yeah.
He gets out.
Oh shit. I'm free.
Having given up, which I thought was rather amusing. The one saving grace seems to be that there is no actual MMR whatsoever in 2 versus 8, so you'll typically get a lot of newer or less experienced players in your lobbies. Otherwise, you generally wipe the floor with the killers, further strengthening the fact that 2 versus 8 is basically the Mario Party mode of Dead by Daylight, seeing as there's a lack of matchmaking or MMR in general. From a casual player perspective, they can queue up with either 7 of their friends, meaning nobody has to be left out of the group when they all get together. Games are, ironically enough, often shorter than their 1 versus 4 counterparts, as immersing and hiding isn't really a thing in this mode, so games do not drag on unnecessarily long. And every time they re-release 2 versus 8, they generally add 3 new killers to freshen up the mode, so you're getting a wider variety in what killers you can experience in your 2 versus 8 matches. The few negatives are obviously killer queues can oftentimes exceed about 30 minutes in length to find a lobby. There are a few bugs, one of which was humorous to me.
Is that all?
And the fact that it only comes around for about 2 weeks every couple of months, but between their other limited time modes like Lights Out, which doesn't really have a good reception as most people generally seem to dislike it or are indifferent to it, and Chaos Shuffle, where perks amongst the survivors and the killers are randomized. It's generally better received, but doesn't fundamentally alter the mechanics of the game the same way that 2v8 exceedingly makes the game more enjoyable from a casual perspective. Anyway, if you enjoyed this style of video, I was thinking of incorporating more discussion style videos into my channel, so let me know if you like this type of video in the comments below. And as always, you can check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/AbsolvedLIVE, link to that in the description below.